Hey there, and welcome to Conversations Worth Your While. It's the podcast where we dig into ideas and insights that help you to unleash what you were born to bring. I chat with heart-led experts. I ask the questions that I know you're thinking about, and we explore conversations that spark growth, that shift perspectives, and that will help you to show up fully in life. Today, we're exploring when your job search feels like a dead end. And this conversation is worth your while because when that happens, it kills your confidence. It impacts how people see and respond to you. And it can feel like there's like this downward spiral happening. And even if you're not currently in transition, changes are happening in companies all the time. And chances are someday you will be. And so today we're going to share how to present yourself and how to regain your confidence so that you'll attract the job and the pay that you deserve. I am your host, Linda Bucher, and if the life you're in no longer fits you, this space is for you. Because through this podcast and through my coaching, I guide you to shed what no longer fits, to reconnect with your gifts, and to bring your life into alignment with who you are and what you want. And if that sparks something within you, you can find me at lindabucher.com. Okay, once again, the topic of today's conversation is when your job search feels like a dead end. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by John Hadley. He is a job search strategist, and John is unleashing what he was born to bring as he helps job seekers who are frustrated with their search to land the job and the pay that they deserve. So, John, thank you so much for being with us today on Conversations with Your Wild.
Well, thanks for inviting me, Linda.
Oh, you are very welcome. Can you tell us a little bit more about who you serve and what you're doing?
Sure. What I do is as you said, I help job seekers who are frustrated with their search. I started this because I went through my own search and realized that how to market yourself came naturally to me. So it became something that I started doing as a hobby on the side of my consulting business, and then finally said, I just need to make this my practice.
Well, it's wonderful that came natural to you because it does not come natural to most people. There's a lot of people, who even like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, a listener might not be in transition right now.
Mhm.
And it's not just companies that make changes and cause layoffs, but like with me, I was just feeling like I can't do this anymore. I gotta go. So sometimes we create our own transition. We're like, okay, that's it. There's enough of this. But I don't know what's next. And the idea of doing the same thing makes me like feel like awful, but I don't even know what else I'm suited to do. And so regardless of whether this is a job transition that is of your choice or not of your choice, you will be stuck in the same headspace of, like confidence, the lack of confidence, lack of clarity, knowing that I'm really good at one thing, but how will that translate? So there can be a lot of issues, can't there be?
Oh yeah, and then a lot of people they get stuck in their head, and I'm in transition now. What do I do? Oh, I go look for the exact same job I used to have, but maybe that's not the right fit anymore. But they're afraid to step out beyond that because how will I get someone to hire me for this other thing? But that's the first step that you do with people, helping them get in touch with what they're really about. That's so critical to the whole process.
Yeah, it really is. I do have job search coaches like yourself. They're someone wants to come and work with them and they'll send the person to me saying, you're not ready because you have no idea what you want. So go see Linda, and when you're done, come back to me and I'll get you there. you know.
Yeah,
Um,
years ago, I had someone I was working with who he was a programmer, hated getting up in the morning to go to work. But it's what he knew. He'd been doing it for a long time. And I challenged him on what he really wanted to do, which had to do with helping companies set up their international operations, which is a bit removed from what he was doing. And every time he'd ever thought about it, it was like, no, but this is what I know. And he'd step back. And I challenged him to just get out talking to people about that, about this new direction. We came up with a story and it started resonating with people. And then next thing I knew, he met a partner. He sold his place. He got on the plane to Beijing to open up their international consulting business.
right. You just never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Like as a human, you never know. what you're meant to be doing if you don't stop and ask yourself that question. I have a client right now who came to me. She's in the medical field. She's been there for 25 years, and she's like, I just can't do this anymore.
Hmm.
And as we've been working, she's discovered that she really wants to be in the travel industry. Like,
Ah,
talk about a leap, right? And she wants to be create something very special for solo women travelers. Like, how beautiful is that? Such a leap, but I mean, so beautiful. And so now the next question is, well, how am I qualified to do this? Right? That so people are afraid to make the leap because they question, like, well, who am I to do this? Right? Do you come across that with people?
oh, and the people who are closest to you are looking at you like you have two heads. How can you do that? So you have to tune that out. I experienced that when I opened my practice. It's like, wait, you're an actuary. You're doing what now? And why would you do that? And how can you build a practice? All these things that I just had to tune them out and say, this is what I love. This is what I'm good at. I am going to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's being in alignment is the key.
Yes.
So, all right. So, let's talk about this. Like I know two young people in their 20s that have were recently laid off because they were low man on the totem pole.
Hmm.
In today's there's a lot of volatility in the job market, definitely more than, when I got my first job out of college 4 decades ago, I don't even know when it was. Um, I was looking for longevity and I was looking to retire from the place I was going to get a job. And so was that employer looking for me to stay all the way until I retired. Today, the market is so much different. And it's not uncommon for, actually, I know three young people in their 20s, now that I think about it, that in the last 4 months experienced a layoff because, yeah. And so this is probably going to happen a lot more than my generation was used to seeing that happen.
Oh,
It took something pretty big for a large corporation to downsize,
absolutely.
back in the day.
Well, yeah, when I was in I was an actuary for many years, and my company basically broke the mold. That it was the first major layoff in the insurance world. They decided to cut 10% of their employees, and no everyone everyone's walking around with shock in their eyes because they never saw it coming. And now that's just commonplace.
Commonplace. Okay, so we've established this is going, if it hasn't happened already to a listener, it's going to happen, whether it comes from the inside or the outside, it's going to happen. So now, as I bring these young people to mind and their job search, all three of these people are very different. And one of them is a total go-getter and a risk taker. And she just was like, well, I'm just going to offer my own consulting until someone wants to hire me. And
Mhm.
she just, as she's been interviewing, someone said, well, we could only use this. She goes, well, I can do that for you in the meantime. You don't have to hire me. I'll just do that. So she's discovered she has more of an entrepreneurial spirit. And she's like,
Mhm.
well, I'm going to be doing this. Right. But what she's always been great at is following what feels right for her. That's
Mhm.
very unusual, especially for someone in their 20s, who
Yeah.
hasn't worked with a coach to learn that that is the pathway. Another one of these young people was having trouble finding something in his field, and it's the field he has a master's in, and he wants to work in this field. He's excited. He was working in the field, again, a layoff. But he doesn't have the ability to change cities. So what's available here, right? And it's a hands-on job. It's not an online job that he does. So as that job search went on, it got more difficult. And to me, knowing this person, I know he wasn't using his very best skill, which is he has what you has, that natural way. Just people talk to him, they like him, they want to know more, they want to hang out with him, they want to like know what he has to offer. But he was doing online search instead of searching in an alignment with his very natural skills. And then the third young person that I'm thinking about, is probably just directionless in general, not really sure, picked a college major, graduated. It's okay, it's a major, general business type thing. Not sure, got into a more of a sales position and then there was a layoff and now like, I don't know if I want to go back. Did I learn anything? Do I know anything about this? Right. So there's the directionless. So we're talking to people of any age, but I just want to make it clear that the way people feel can be very different, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I meet the deeply depressed. I meet the overconfident, and everything in between. But like that second person that you were talking about, that network is so powerful. If he's engaging or she's engaging, that's such a game changer. I had someone who his father actually reached out to me because he'd graduated from a good school and he wasn't really applying himself. He was sitting in the basement. He wasn't getting anywhere, and he wanted to be working in a lab, but he had okay grades in science, not the top notch. And he's going to interview in labs where it's PhDs. And
Mm.
so there's a big disconnect. And we leaned into his network. One of the very first person he talked to, he wanted to go into biotech. And one of the very first people he talked to, alumni from his school, had his own biotech firm up in Boston. Said, "Hey, come on up. I'll take you all. I'll show you around. I'll introduce you to our head of HR. I'll give you a tour." Within a couple months of that sort of conversation, he landed exactly where he wanted to be, and has been promoted, I think, 3 times in the last 5 years.
Wow. Well, that's amazing. So, yeah, I think people underestimate the network. So, let's start talking about what people are doing wrong because it's not a natural skill to, and even if you
Mhm.
think about, I mean, the concept of market yourself, right? When I think about those words, I think about, oh, I got to put on what other people want to see instead of be the real me, which is counterintuitive to what me as a coach, what I'm helping people do is no, the first step is to find the real you. That's the first step because your job should be like a glove on the hand of who you are. It should fit you perfectly and light you up and be fulfilling. And when that happens, you're going to kick ass at it anyway and use all those skills that you have. So, so let's talk a little bit about like what people are what they don't know. Like what do they need to know?
Well, one of the things is they get stuck in networking in particular that, oh, I'm going to talk to Linda because Linda is going to introduce me to 5 people who I need to meet. And I come in to meet with you and I'm like, Linda, who do you know? Who can you connect me with? What jobs do you know? And it becomes this transactional approach instead of, Linda, I'd love to understand what you do. I'd love to understand, tell me all about you and your practice, how you got here, and then it'll naturally turn to me at some point, and I do have to be prepared to tell you what I'm about and what I'm seeking. But it needs to be this give and take. And when we build a strong relationship, you will now be volunteering ways you can help me. So my asking you, who do you know? Who can you introduce me to? What jobs do you know about? Is actually counterproductive because it's like I'm trying to pull them out of you. But if we have a great conversation, you're going to volunteer those things. And so if you're not, I'm not doing it right. There's something going wrong. I'm not building the relationship. So I think that's one of the keys. It's just approaching networking as a relationship building activity and let that lead to referrals and other things that will help you in your network.
Exactly, because when people feel seen, they want to see you back. And they might think of someone 3 months from now, like, oh, I got to introduce you to so and so.
Yep.
Now they feel like they have a relationship. You didn't just use them to leapfrog on to the next, who else should I talk to? Right. So building relationships is key. And people don't recognize that of networking. They think networking is about meeting people, here's my card, call me. Right.
Yes.
Or that the person they're networking with is the person supposed to offer them a job. That's rarely the case. So rare. It
Yep.
it is networking, you have to get to this node to get to another node to get to another node. Eventually, there's a node that's exactly right for you. And if you're just trying to use people to just get a general introduction, you're not going to be in the right part. You're never going to hit, it's going to take a long time to hit the right node. So connecting with that person, which is a human connection, making that human connection. And then what'll happen is you'll feel like you need to ask a question that you didn't come prepared to ask. You're like,
Mhm.
oh, well, now that you tell me more about what you do, can you share a little more about that? My
Yep.
my husband is a PhD in communication, so I get to learn some things from him a lot. And he has a little thing that he teaches people. He says when you ask someone a question about like, so, like something simple, where was the last place you went on vacation, right? And then they tell you, oh, I went to Italy, and they're telling you a little about their Italy. Even if you went to Italy, you don't say, oh, I went to Italy too. Not yet. You say, what was your favorite restaurant to eat at in Italy? And now you're asking them another question that shows them you're listening to what
Yes.
they've already shared. So you take two questions, not just one. You have to go one layer deeper at the minimum, and
Mhm.
then you connect at that deeper level. Now it's more of a connection because, oh, now you're going to remember this is the person who also, you know, loves to eat, and we were in the same region in Italy, right? So connecting is not just surface level. What do you do? Tell me about your work. It's tell me more about this, or tell me what about that is your favorite. What do you love best about this?
Right.
What advice, you can always ask advice. People love to share. They love to
Mhm.
share about themselves, and they love to share advice. So, what advice do you have for me? Is there, if you were in my position, what would you do? Right?
Right.
Oh my God, let me help you with this. Right. And this is how we make connection. It's about human to human. I know the end all be all goal is to find a job that is right for you, but the human connection itself has its very own rewards. That's really beautiful.
And I try to teach people that it's the same thing in the interview. Don't, going deeper and deeper. Don't, someone says, oh, we're looking for a project manager who can do this. And I immediately start telling you that I'm a project manager who can do this. Well, no. Well, tell me why you need that. What's it doing for your business? What's going wrong because you don't have that? And I go deeper, and suddenly we're talking about what's really going on in the operation. And now I know, oh, they're struggling with this aspect of project management. This is the direction I should go. This is what I should talk about. And we build a much deeper connection.
Yeah.
And we get to the place where they see me as really focused on the deep underlying issues that they face.
Yes, that's an excellent point. So we definitely want to go deeper. So that's one thing. Make a connection and make it deep, not surfacey. What is the difficulty that people have in presenting themselves? Let's talk about that next.
A lot of it has to do with how we grew up, that we were taught you don't brag. It's not seemly to brag. And then we started seeing the pushy insurance salesman who we would cross the street to avoid. And that's not, it's a stereotype. There are a lot of great insurance salespeople out there who aren't like that. But we see the ones who are bragging all the time. So we're like, oh, I shouldn't be saying these things. So getting past that to where I understand the value of the things I do, and I bring them out in a natural way in conversation, then people start to say, oh, I see what John does. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I can connect him to this person. Whereas if I push it on you, it doesn't work. It's like if I walked up to you at a networking event and I said, Linda, hi, I'm John Hadley, and I help job seekers who are frustrated with their search. You'd be saying, "Oh, guy, this guy is so full of himself. He's just trying to sell me something." On the other hand, if we're having a conversation, I've asked you a few questions, and you turn and say, "So, John, what do you do?" And I say, "Well, I help job seekers who are frustrated with their search." It's in context, and it's presenting a value I could help people with, or a challenge I could help them solve, and it works very effectively in that context. So
Mhm.
it's getting to that, how do I present things? I have to understand my value, but then how do I present it in a way that I'm not just bragging about it? I'm not just pushing it on people.
Yes, I love that you brought that up. You have to understand your value. You have to know the value, not just the title, you
Mhm.
know, right? There's a bigger value. I know I get kind of caught up in wordiness sometimes. Um, my end all be all is, I help people to unleash what they were born to bring. Like that's what I do, right? That's
That's
not why they
great.
come to me. They don't say,
Yep.
gee, I'd love to unleash what I was born to bring. That's not why they come to me. They come to me because they want to live a beautiful, rich, aligned life that feels fulfilling. And they
Mhm.
want to be living in peace, right? And so they want to be waking up every day happy. That's what they want. They're not thinking about unleashing, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, well here, but the surprise when you get there, because yeah, I help you get there. That's what you come to me for. That's what we do. But the surprise is when you get there, you're going to be perfectly poised and excited to give the world your gifts. Like that's like they don't even know that's going to be happening. Um,
Yes.
so when I can explain versus like I'm a master certified life coach who helps people unleash what they were born to bring, that is not so natural, right? That's people are like, huh, okay, next, they can tune out.
Yep.
Um, yeah, so
Yeah,
it,
I often ask people, when we're exploring if there's a fit, and I'll ask them, well, okay, so you want to land this job, da da da. So suppose you land it, what will that do? And they're like, well, then I can pay the bills. Okay, great. So now you've landed it, you can pay the bills. What will that do? And they're like, oh, well then, I'd really feel fulfilled. I'm back doing what I did. Oh, and suppose you have that, and you did. They're like, oh, well then the family would be happy. My wife would be happy. My husband would be happy. We'd be able to go on vacation, and they're getting really excited. And that's what you want them to get in touch with it. That's what this is really about. It's not just about landing a job.
yeah. And I'd like to make a point about ego. Our egos love to have job titles. Our egos love to have a high salary, higher than we probably really need. It doesn't matter what we need. Our egos want to have more. Our egos want to have sports cars and, like, I don't know, the best plants on the block. Like our egos want that. Um, but what happens is you can talk to a lot of people who have that and they're not happy. They're not
Yes.
happy because what they're doing is out of alignment with who they are and what's right for them. And so we want to be careful that we don't let our ego drive our job search.
Hmm.
We don't let the ego drive that because then you'll be back in the same place you were, which is like, oh, because I lived in this place where my life looks good on paper. I got some money, I got some stuff, like seems pretty good, but I was, unfulfilled and unhappy and feeling guilty about feeling unhappy with all I had. So
Hmm.
that is a slippery slope. And that happens when you're out of alignment. So when you're looking for your next job, if you can kind of separate your ego from and instead get in touch with your essence, this is where you want to have to be your starting point. Who am I? What's right for me? That's where I start with people. And then, of course, repairing the sense of worthiness because when we're in transition or things in our world have been shaken up, when we lose that confidence, we can start to that triggers those deep-seated beliefs of I'm not good enough or I'm not enough. And so we have to repair that sense of worthiness. That happens. And then we cultivate true self-love, not the kind that just plastered all over the internet in like love yourself, have a bubble bath, but like true self-love and being able to navigate in accordance with what's right for you, which means being able to set real boundaries, which means being able to say no to a great opportunity because there's just something a little off, right? So we really want to make sure that we're in touch with our essence. Once we're in touch with our essence and we know what our gifts are, that's part of this discovery process, right? What are my gifts? Because we know our skills, that we know. We've been working hard on those skills for our whole lives. But what are the natural tendencies and the natural gifts? If I put all this together and I were to navigate each step by what feels right and true for me, then, where would I go and where might I land and how might I network that way? who might I connect with and who might I not. Sometimes I might network with someone and there's an ick feeling, and I'm like, that I'm not going any further down that node. That's not right for me, right?
Mhm.
That's okay, right? So when you get this is how you build this confidence. It's not you build the confidence after you land the job. You create the confidence in who you are and what's right for you now. That's how we move forward.
Yep. But it reminds me of I had printed this out earlier because I just got this last week from someone. Just had a free conversation about her search, and she said, you know, you encouraged me to broaden my job search thinking beyond advertising roles since my resume doesn't reflect a conventional career path. You told me a story about a job seeker who convinced the company to create a new position for him, something I assumed happened only to charismatic people with excellent interviewing skills. I was wrong. After applying and being promptly rejected, I was invited for an informal chat by the company, citing my interesting resume. That turned into formal interviews and an offer with a title much more appropriate to my unconventional history. Now, 6 weeks in, I feel like I landed on my feet with a company that values people and their long-term potential as much as the company's immediate needs. And that's
That's
the sort of
alignment.
that's what motivates me. But I mean, when people see the value and they recognize you for the value you bring, not for this specific title or this, but they like, how can we make this happen? Linda's really interesting. There's got to be a way we can make this fit. That's the ideal situation.
It is, yeah. Awesome, John. So, if someone wanted to just start today, what's like a simple way to start?
Well, the first thing would be getting really clear on your value proposition. And this isn't your job title, it isn't your duties or responsibilities. It's what are the results you've produced? What are the challenges you've solved? Get really clear on that. In fact, if you think about who do you think you'd like to work for? What's the job you think you'd like? Okay, come up with what are the results and challenges? What are the problems they face, and what could I do to solve those? And let that be what drives your value proposition. So that'd be the first thing.
And I want to back up real quick because that's a really good point. It's not just like, what challenges do I solve in general? It's like, I want to apply to this specific company. What are their challenges and how might I help to solve them? So you're connecting what you can do and your value to that company before you even apply. So that's huge. Okay, next.
Next would be identify everyone you've ever worked with. People, colleagues, peers, bosses, subordinates, vendors, consultants, and try setting up one-on-ones with as many of those people as you can, just to talk about, hey, Linda, when we work together, I'm thinking about my next opportunity. I'd love to get your take on what you think I brought to the table, and then just be really open. Don't shut it down by saying, oh no, you didn't see this or you didn't see. Just, yeah, tell me more. Tell me what you saw. You'll get surprised. There'll be things that they say, oh, this is what you really brought to the table. You're like, really? I never would have even thought to mention that. And it'll boost your ego. You'll feel better about yourself because you're getting this validation. And
Mhm.
at the same time, you are creating the core of a really powerful set of advocates who can help you in your search.
Yeah, that's a good point. So sometimes people see things in ourselves that we don't see,
Hmm.
and they can see us a little more clearly than we can see, especially if we have, some worthiness issues where we tend to poo-poo that compliment. And this is a time where you want to be listening to it because if this is what they see in you, this is what you have. That's part of your value that you can
Yep.
you can offer. Great. And is there one more way to start?
I'd say now make a list of those target companies that you think are really interesting to you, and try to find anyone you can connect with in any role. I don't care if they have anything to do with the role you want. It could be someone in the mailroom because they're internal. They can tell you more about the operation. They can tell you more about their challenges, and they know people inside who they can connect you with.
Mhm.
So find as many people as you can connected to any of the companies on your list and try to build a, get known at those companies because
Mm.
jobs will open up. Don't worry about who has an opening. Get known by the companies you're interested in because there will be openings coming up, or there may be openings that haven't been posted yet or you don't know about. So just get on their radar screen now.
Excellent. Thank you so much, John. This has been such a great conversation. I really appreciate you being here today. And if someone wants to know more, what can they do?
Well, I have a free career tips e-newsletter I put out every month. It's called Career Tips, and they can go to my website, which is jhacareers.com, and there's a box at the top that says Get Career Tips. There's also a box on the menu that says Resources, and you can look for back issues, good articles there. There are videos that I did with another coach that we called Two Old Dogs and One New Trick. There's all sorts of free resources they can find on my website.
Well, that's fantastic. I will be sure to put the link to your website right in the show notes. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you again. And everyone, that is our show. I am Linda Bucher, guiding people to know their worth, to reconnect with their gifts, and create lives that are fully aligned and deeply impactful. And if you're sensing it's time to bring your life into deeper alignment, you can explore what that looks like at lindabucher.com. And if today's episode sparked something for you, wonderful. And also, please share it with someone who might need it and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And then join me next week for another expansive, uplifting conversation designed to support your growth. And until next time, make sure that you've made this conversation worth your while by fueling the spark that it ignited.